Hello everyone, welcome back to good old Gelvin Valley, created by Wild Wes for Farming Simulator 15. We are almost done. I just missed a patch, blimey. Almost done chiseling out our new fields that we are converting to arable. So we hopefully with this episode I'll be done with this field, and then I think I'm going to be getting a roller and running that over the fields, crushing the rocks that I can. Actually, maybe I need to take care of the rocks first. So yeah, I'll take care of the rocks, as many of them as I can, the big ones anyways. Then we'll come through here with a roller and smash all these furrows over and get it ready for planting. So yeah, got just a little dab left here. Every single one of these fields in here is hard won, if you will, in terms of converting them to arable fields. These are all grass in here, formerly grazed off according to the map instructions. So in order to farm any of them arable, we have to dig out the ripper, which is what we've been doing the past couple of episodes. Also putting down quite a number of rock that we'll need to pick up. I opted this time to have it on a rock digging level of 3, which is medium. I think it's low. I still love me some rocks. Well, the last episode I went on and on about the concept of leadership and a special meeting that I was invited to at the time I recorded the previous episode. And I wanted to share a little bit more. You know, this is a book that we were asked to read just a single chapter. You know, a lot of times you can get something out of a meeting just with a few simple concepts to discuss. It isn't, that there was onerous homework to do. You almost got to wonder about whether those meetings would be worth it if you have just a ton of homework to dig into before you go to it, because I know we're all busy. But the book, let me see if I can get the title of it here while I'm driving. It's called The 5 Temptations of a CEO, and it was written by, oh blimey. Yeah, see, this is the problem with trying to read something while you're driving in here. Virtually impossible, so I probably should just record all this and then do a voiceover. But I'm kind of stubborn. 5 Temptations of a CEO, written by Patrick Lencioni, Lencioni. I really don't know anything about Patrick, and it says he's also author of the 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. So whatever that means. Yeah, kind of like I mentioned in the last video, a lot of these books, there's a lot of them out there, dime a dozen, so I really don't know. I went into this cold. I'd never read anything prepared by this author before, so it was kind of interesting to get his perspective on the 5 temptations of a CEO. And when you hear the word temptation, maybe you always wonder, well, what kind of temptations? Well, these are the types of temptations that would make a CEO fail rather than have success. And the problem with some of these books, if I call it a problem, is sometimes, and again, I don't have the full book in front of me, so maybe it's not even mine to say, but sometimes in books like these, it almost has the feel of a one-size-fits-all approach, or there's a lack of definition. For example, what is success? One person, one CEO may define it differently from someone else. Is it just dollars and cents? Well, maybe it is to one person, but not to someone else. So when we read in here of results and being a maniac for results, as it puts it in here in one of the places, I still wonder, well, what does that mean? And having a focus on all that. All right, by the way, we are done with our chiseling. I don't think I have anything else to chisel. So let me take this back to the main farm. Maybe here's some paper shuffling here. I'm just looking at my notes. I'll maybe try to remember to put a link in the description if there's anybody interested at all in this. They can look the book up themselves. Just trying to move the camera up. There we go. Alright, we'll head back to the farm. We'll grab our rock trailer and we'll bring it out here and pick up the rocks. Actually, maybe I need to head over to I'll probably just come over here to this field and pick up this one first. It's probably one of the closest fields that the new ones that we have, so I may as well start up here, just kind of work them backwards. Actually, you know what? I took out some fields kind of over by the sheep. So maybe I'll check over there too and see if there's any rocks on those fields. But in his book here, The Temptation number 1, he has 5 of them, hence the name. It says, the most important principle that an executive must embrace is a desire to produce results. And, it says that seems obvious, but what he's observing is that many, they may be focused on results up until they get in the CEO chair, but then after that, it becomes more about preserving their position rather than, focusing relentlessly on results. Oh, I gotta put that back, don't I? I gotta stop. Hold on. Let me come into the garage. I think I can turn it back from here. Return, washing cause. Yes, it's filthy. I'll do it. Okay. Alright, it's gone. Back up the hill we go. We'll get this into gear. So I guess the first temptation is, upon becoming CEO, to stop focusing on results and instead look for protecting your ego or reputation, and maybe instead of taking risk or making decisions that potentially make you look bad, you kind of just take it easy and you don't want to rock the boat. And you can see how that'd be a temptation. A lot of times CEOs are those that are more advanced in their careers, and maybe they're older, maybe they get closer to retirement, and so some of them, maybe they say, I just want to ride this out, so they stifle or potentially ignore innovation, some of those kinds of things, and just kind of ride things out instead of doing things where that may benefit the company. And it means taking risk. It may mean that you're dead wrong, and most of us don't like to be dead wrong, but maybe we're willing to take those kinds of risks when we're struggling to become the one that gets to sit in the CEO chair. So, stay on the road. Yeah, once again, a casualty of shuffling paper while you're trying to run a farming sim video. Let me get up here in the field and get this all set up so I can get away from the... Alright, here we go. Let me get the lights off, and we'll turn this on. Alright, trailer. Rock auto loading is off. So let me turn that on. And can I show the rock area? Control S. Ahaha. Help me to see. Alright, so let me sneak around here. The littlest rocks, you know, as you may recall, we can smash with the roller. So what I'm really keen on getting out here isn't the little ones, it's the big ones. And you may be able to see on the map, field number 47, of course, you can see, is that a big one right there? Nope, it isn't. There's a bigger one coming up. Where is that? This is down here. There's one. I don't know if... Yeah, I just want to pick up the larger ones so I can come in with a roller and smash the others into the ground. It has a mechanism of getting rid of them. There's a little teeny one. I probably could roll that one. I'll just pick it up while I'm here. It's going to go in there. Trouble is, each one of these adds weight. But like I say, the main one I'm interested in is like this one here. It's going to be a big one up here. I don't even care if I lose out one. See, a lot of them, yeah, once they are flying in here, yeah, now he's going to get in there. I do want to collect that one. I don't remember how big I'm able to just roll under, so some of this is kind of guesswork. And maybe I'll end up, when I bring the roller in here, I won't be able to smash a couple of them, and I'll just have to push them out of the way. So part of me doesn't even want to pick up some of these, but yeah, I'm going to do it anyhow if I come in here. So, there's a bigger one. That definitely is a big one. I think that one over there I could get with the roller. Probably could get that one too. You know what? Because the trouble is, they have weight, and so they're heavy, and I'm already, you know, pulling a load up the hill, and it slows me down. Because they all definitely have weight. Oh, gee, mini. I should have started at the bottom of the hill and worked my way up, I think. And I'll pick up this big bruiser. Anyway, back to the subject at hand. The advice they have for CEOs, you know, the more, if they're make results the most important measure of personal success, or step down from the job. Well, so again, I mean, that leaves a number of questions, you know, just what is success and what are results? Does that look like I got all the big ones? I hope so. I think I do. Alright, let me turn this off. And, you know, the place we dispose of these, by the way, is the same place where we take hay. So, what would that mean? You know what? I think... Where is the hay sale? You know, I know there is one over here by the stables. I don't think there's one over here. And there's one way up top here at the livestock market. You know, what I really should do in here, this is maybe something modding wise I could do in here, is put a rock dump place somewhere that doesn't look like a place to sell hay. You know, because you wouldn't dispose of rocks at a hay dump. That's just how I built the mod, to always have a place that most maps would have, you know. So you could dispose of any rocks you picked up. But maybe I could install somewhere in a gully a place to throw the rocks that, oops, I wanted to turn it off. Control R. There we go. So maybe what I'll do is take this up the hill and dispose of it kind of at the hay sell point and get rid of them, because yeah, it doesn't take any rocks, and we are quite heavy and gravity does its thing and weighs us down. Alright, I'm doing terrible staying on task here with this meeting. Alright, temptation number 2. It says, even CEOs who resist the temptation to over-focus on protecting their status sometimes fail. And why? Because they do not hold their direct reports accountable for delivering on the commitments that drive results. So those would be people under the CEO that answer to him or her for the results. And it's not holding them accountable. And they say here, this is a different temptation. It's more a temptation that is the desire to be popular versus results driven. And probably nobody or very few people want to just be known as a jerk, or they don't care what other people think of them. Most people generally do care, and so holding people accountable is not an easy thing to do. Maybe because none of us like inherently to be held accountable. Because you might be told you did something wrong. Well, who likes that, So once people reach that seat, there's one temptation is protection of your ego. The next is not holding people accountable for bringing about good results, that lead to success. All right, up the hill we go. Probably gonna putt, just getting up here. But we'll take our time heading up the canyon here. Oh my goodness, this gets to 4 miles an hour. What's the third temptation? The third temptation hits home particularly for me. I'm an accountant, and so spend a lot of time analyzing data, thinking of things, rolling them around in my mind. I just have an analytical thought process, if you will. It can be helpful, but it can also lead to paralysis, when it comes to decision making and that kind of thing. You can have the desire to want certainty versus living with a certain amount of risk, where you don't know what the outcome is because you can't prove it, you can't nail it down. Maybe you get the best possible information you can and you leave it there, but it isn't perfect. And somehow being comfortable with that. So for analytical people, maybe there's another temptation they get to, and that's the need to make a correct one to achieve the certainty that they desire, versus the advice they give in here is, rather than desiring to just be correct, try to have clarity. Clarity in your decision, and as more information is learned, you can change course. And maybe some people don't like doing that, because it almost looks as if, they were wrong or that kind of thing, or have to go back on what they previously said, and that isn't always, an easy thing to do. You know what? I'm going to drive around here. I don't know that I've ever driven on this side of the sheds here. So I'm going to head over here. We'll head over to field number 12. Pick up the rocks there. So the advice is that it's more important to have clarity than it is accuracy. And I know that can be a frustration, when even the good book has it, when the trumpet yields an uncertain sound, how do people know what to do with it? When you say something and you don't mean it, people trying to follow you may not know what their role is, what to do. But if you're at least clear on the instruction that they're given, what their task is, then that's something. They can clearly do it, and then, like I say, you can always change course as additional information is needed, but the temptation is to gather data and then a decision never gets made. There's analysis paralysis, or whatever you call it. Temptation number 3. Temptation number 4, it says, is the desire for harmony. And this one may seem kind of counterintuitive, and I gotta say, a lot of this, it just depends. I don't know that any of us would choose deliberately disharmony. I don't think he's saying that disharmony is the goal in and of itself, but rather that we should be willing to hear and foster an environment where differences of opinion, different ideas, and those kinds of things, can be expressed and shared freely. And even this is going to be difficult, and probably takes a special kind of leader to be able to make it work. Because, I don't know, we've all been around people. You can probably think of people right this very moment that you respect, and you can think of people that you don't respect, and you don't care what they say. Why? Well, maybe they're a loser, and you're just not interested in what they have to say. Maybe they're a poor speaker and they stutter and they're not able to get their ideas out. Maybe I should go pick up this one over here. Or maybe there's a personality conflict. Maybe this person did you dirt. Who knows? I mean, there's any number of reasons why you may not want to listen to someone. And if you're in a team, to work together and to try to get the best possible ideas, I still would say, a lot of this probably just depends on the people involved and the parameters of the discussion, if you will, as to how well something like that works. And I think the idea is, which of course makes sense, you don't want to leave any potential good idea out or any stone unturned in pursuit of excellence or success for your company or whatever that you're working on. I mean, that makes total sense. And maybe some of it, there's always that one person who has to be the smart one in the room, or the one that likes hearing themselves talk, thinks they have all the answers, and then it goes to the other extreme. You'll have people who are very quiet and they don't want to share anything. I would say I'm probably on that more extreme. I tend to do a lot more listening than I do talking, and part of that, frankly, is the reason for trying to have a YouTube channel is I want a place to exercise my voice and to learn to talk. But anyway, sometimes there's those people in a group who just don't say much. Well, a leader, a good one, probably would try to... I'm picking up little runs here. Probably wants to get everybody's idea, not just the blowhard, that just because he knows how to talk, or she, and is louder than everybody else, maybe wants to hear what other ideas may be in the room. So, and having a safe place, where this is done, and safe, it's relatively speaking. But then my question is you can have all this, and the author doesn't get into this. Okay, all well and good. So you have a place where all these ideas are shared and whatnot. Good for you. But once you make a decision as a CEO and say, okay, this is the direction we're going to go as a company, what about getting all those people who had all those different ideas? How do you get them all in line? And pull for the same team. Hold on a minute. Do I have a gold one? Oh, bummer. No gold. It is possible to dig out a gold rock. Oh, I see little teeny ones all over the place. Just trying to get the big ones here. Grab that one. Folks, I think, is that all of them? Let me get this one kind of on the way out. Yes, sir. Alright, I'm going to turn it off so I don't pick up any more on accident. I'm going to see if I can creep my way back up the hill. So I do see his point, having a place where all these things can be fleshed out. That is how you're going to get the best ideas. If you foster an environment where there's conflict and people are able to bring this around, or bring all their ideas. I would say that's only going to work if every person bringing their ideas is also highly invested or highly bought into the mission of the company and what you're doing, and agree that whatever idea is agreed upon, chosen, whatever, that they all get behind it for the good of the company. If you just have someone who ignores it, does their own thing, gets angry or whatever, I don't see how deliberately fostering an environment of conflict is going to help. That's just my 2 pence on it. Oh, what's the 5th temptation? Final temptation. The desire, they call it here, for invulnerability. So CEOs are relatively, I see, being seen as vulnerable, not necessarily being the smartest person in the room. Some people fear that they lose credibility if their people feel too comfortable challenging their ideas. And I don't know, by their varying degrees of, I think the concept he's stepping around here maybe is just flat out called humility, to put it in a single term. Are we humble enough as a leader to have our best thinking, our thoughts, our decisions challenged by someone who is subordinate to us? Because there may be a very good reason that we've overlooked, and we might be blinded by our own ego, past success, or whatever it is, that maybe is no longer relevant. And yeah, do we listen to a subordinate? I mean, if we pay a subordinate to help us with the things that we do, why wouldn't we listen to them and take the best that we can get from them when they're willing to offer it? And it isn't easy to swim upstream, if you will, and tell your boss that he's wrong, or he needs to look at it a different way. And I'm not saying, there are ways to do it and ways not to do it, of course. And we're all human. You don't want someone being a total jerk about it, so it isn't going to work with that kind of an approach. But hopefully we could be the type of a person that when we're missing something, and hopefully we hire people, confident people, good people, who and create a cultured environment that they feel comfortable telling us when we're wrong, or to rethink or reconsider something. And it can be tough, because sometimes, depending on the people that you have, what you observe about their lives personally or whatever, it's like, oh man, this person couldn't possibly tell me how to make a bologna sandwich, let alone some particular business advice. But maybe it's more a mindset than anything else for, the person that's a leader, is being willing to listen to others and not thinking we can just do it all alone. All right, we finished field number 47 and number 12. We still have field number 21 and number 23. So I think, let me go to field 21. I don't know if this is the quickest way to get there. Yeah, I think we hang a left and we'll be on that road over there. And any one of us, I don't care who we are all leaders of someone or something. It could be by the way we behave, we'd never know who's watching us, or we lead down the wrong path like I just did. We're all leaders, especially if we're dads, moms, have children, and we influence our families, those that are around us, and maybe we don't think of ourselves as leaders, but the fact of the matter is someone is always watching what we do and perhaps being influenced by it. And I would say also, maybe we don't think of leadership quite that way, but where we do see leaders of companies, we've all had bosses, and maybe we've all occasionally experienced that dreaded boss, that's just a son of a gun in terms of being able to get along with him. And, even those individuals we can learn from, if for no other purpose and to not want to be like them. So leadership is all around us in every aspect of our lives, whether we think it is or not. And we ourselves are leaders at something to someone in some part of our lives, whether we want that or not. It's just reality. So I figure it never hurts to try to learn as much as we can about it and try to improve it, just like we would try to improve any other particular skill we might try to gain in life. Anyway, the bell is rung. I'll quit boring you for this particular episode. Thank you for coming along and having a listen and watch me farm. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I will see you on the next one. Goodbye.